and we will start the show in just a second. Welcome, come on in. What's up, JR? What's up, Xander? Crypto Danny. Meyer. Go ahead and invite Lucas. Okay. Hello, Lucas.
What is up, Tommy?
All right, perfect. Okay, so we'll go ahead and kick off here in just a second. Let me retweet the room, and then we'll get started. Very excited. Looking forward to this today.
Same here, my friend.
All right. Got a couple people still scrolling in. Good morning, Brian, Randman, Downix. Good to see you here. Uncut, good to see you. Very nice. All right. I think we're ready to go. It's 10 a.m. Let's go ahead and kick this off. Welcome, 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 Wax Blockchain. I am thrilled to be kicking off this space featuring our CTO, Lucas Shlivka. Spring is in the air and winter's chill is being cast off around the globe. We're already in March of 2024. We've got an exciting year ahead of us. There's no time like the present to take a look back at the last few months to see kind of where we've come since the last tech update in our fall. And while I'll be introducing our guest, Lucas. He is the CTO of Wax. Most of you may know Lucas from previous Twitter Spaces or through meetings. He's been a staple here at the Wax Blockchain for many years. So let me give a little bit of background on Lucas. So he's a thought leader in the Web3 space and has passion for building strong engineering teams and empowering the world with power of true digital asset ownership. Over 25 years of experience in engineering and product development, Lucas is the CTO at Wax Blockchain, and he's leading the charge in revolutionizing Web3 gaming and NFTs. Lucas launched the carbon neutral blockchain protocol that's now the most utilized Web3 platform in the world, processing a staggering 2.5 times the number of transactions of almost all other blockchain protocols combined. Lucas is focused on enabling mass adoption of Web3 by prioritizing user experience and eliminating friction associated with blockchain technologies. And he holds multiple patents in that area. Lucas, welcome back.
What is up, Tommy? Thank you for such a great introduction. Holy shit, I need to take a note of all these things that I've done. This is nice.
And the list grows. I think every time we hop on one of these calls, there's so much more that is coming up and going out. So I wanted to start.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to start today's space. You've given us kind of like a state of the union update on the blockchain. So would you mind kind of giving us a touch and base on the accomplishments we've had since we last met in early November?
Yeah. So last time we spoke was towards the end of 2023, and I believe we were just about to publish our roadmap for 2024. We were starting to see blood coming back into markets and very early signs of life in crypto. Fast forward 3 months, 4 months till now, and we are now in a place where the team has been already executing on the 2024 roadmap that we put together. And we are definitely seeing, massive signs of life. Bitcoin halving is around the corner. So hopefully we're going to be seeing a sustained bull run for the next 18 months or so, which with everything that we've been doing positions Wax very, very well for for participation and everything great that's coming back into Web3 space. When it comes to what we are executing on, there are a couple of items that are worth mentioning. So we started our tokenomics, Wax blockchain tokenomics realignment last year with starting to adjust certain blockchain parameters. And then we also released a a model that employs power up to be able to have an option how to pay for transactions. So one of them is definitely staking for resources, and that's been on Wax blockchain since the launch of the mainnet. However, we've also introduced power up, which allows users to pay per transaction. So that was a major change for us, and um, I think that we now have all the great tools in our toolbox to start looking at how this variable inflation model that we've introduced is going to pan out. I was checking the other day what is the overall impact of this change, and I think that we definitely see about 80 million wax staked for resources since we started this change, and people are definitely starting to use the power up. So we are our inflation is on average about 4.8%. So we are definitely starting to see that people are using power up, and these fees are now burning. I mean, offsetting the inflation. So the idea is that as we're moving into bull run and there's more and more activity with different projects, then hopefully we're gonna see the inflation go to zero and possibly negative when we start burning wax. There were a couple of surges in the last couple of months where the total inflation actually was offset to zero and beyond. So we did see some wax being burnt. So we know that the mechanism is actually working. But now we're just going to focus on, bringing, releasing more tools for people and then supporting projects so we can get that activity on the chain up. Um, and that goes together with a whole bunch of other stuff that we're working on, which is all the tooling that is expanding on already what we have in our ecosystem. Namely, we're going to be adding to our bridge infrastructure. So you may guys have noticed that we redesigned the whole bridge section and removed it out of the cloud wallet into its own site because bridging in general can be fairly difficult for user experience. So we wanted to have a little bit more real estate and more freedom when it comes to designing a UI that was more intuitive and easier to use. So that has been completed and done. There's a separate site now that you can link to from the Wax wallet, cloud wallet, and use the bridging. We're adding now support for Solana. So Solana is gonna be included in our token bridge, and those are kind of building blocks that we're going to also be using for a whole bunch of other projects that are in flight. And then we are focusing on developer guides. So one of the first ones um, launched, I believe, a month ago or a couple of weeks ago. So we want to, as we're building these tools, we want to dedicate a portion of our team to essentially develop these fully functioning applications that showcase the power of Wax blockchains and Wax blockchain and the tools that we have. So tic-tac-toe launched, and it's essentially a fully working game with a smart contract built out, and that smart contract is open source. The UI is open sourced. So if someone is looking for specific guides and examples that they can essentially copy and paste into their projects, they can use that. And we're gonna be producing three more of these, more advanced as we go, in Q2 and beyond. And the idea is again that we want to have these detailed working applications that showcase various different aspects of Wax blockchain, and how to use it, how to integrate with it, and how to build applications. Um, so we talked about guides, we talked about tokenomics, we talked about the bridge. Let me also give a quick update on. Um, we mentioned that we are working on, in our roadmap for 2024, we want to launch our own layer two Ethereum or EVM compatible sidechain to Wax blockchain. So that is also in flight. And there's going to be more announcements regarding that, for regarding what is the tech, who are we really partnering with, what's the plan to make that work. There's a large portion of our protocol team that's actually looking into that right now, and I'm hoping to have that live. Um, I know we've said Q3, but I really want to make sure that we push it out as soon as possible. So I'm hoping we can actually get that live in Q2. There is a lot of realignment that is happening for that particular project when it comes to Cloud Wallet, because I want to make sure that, um, as everything that we do, we want to make sure that we focus on user experience, and we want to reduce the friction and allow people out of the gate to actually use that sidechain as soon as they can. So that means there needs to be prepackaged bridging of NFTs and tokens, fungible tokens for liquidity to the mainnet, to Ethereum, but also out of the box connectivity and support from Cloud Wallet, so you can move assets very easily from that L2 onto the Wax mainnet. Um, so there's a lot of work that's happening, not only to kind of get it implemented, get the L2 layer implemented, but also all the tooling around it, so that can be used. We talked a little bit about tokenomics, and I'm sure some of the people in the audience want to know what is going to be the impact, or how that new sidechain is going to be um, integrated from the tokenomics perspective into our ecosystem. And we initially we thought that that chain is going to be powered by our ERC20 WAXP token. Um, so essentially, all the gas fees would be done in that. Having said that, I think I can tip our cards a little bit here. We've had some really good discussions with the community regarding that particular aspect. So, and when I say community, primarily all our BPs and then major projects. And I think that there is a big interest in using that layer, especially for bringing DeFi into our ecosystem. But that then there's also a reality that WAXP is a token that is not necessarily very easy to get, especially if you're living in the United States. So we are going to most likely just use Ethereum as a main token powering that L2, and there's going to be connection to our tokenomics. So all the gas fees collected on that L2 are going to be then used to buy WaxP on the Uniswap pool that we already have set up, and then that WaxP is going to be then bridged onto mainnet and injected into our fees mechanism to essentially offset inflation and potentially bring it down to zero and initiate token burn. So that's the plan. Um, Again, it's not finalized, but we're still kind of working through various different models. But again, I think that we want to make sure that that L2 is as easy as possible to use. And hopefully this is going to be a platform allowing people to launch some meaningful DeFi projects, and then bring some projects from the Ethereum space as well, EVM space. Um, so that's definitely a big um, project that the team is focusing on. And then let's see, I'm looking through my notes here. I'm sure you're going to have a separate discussion with Michael, who's our head of gaming, so he can talk about what's happening on the gaming side. But I did want to mention that Music Mogul has launched. So there's a big part of engineering that's also supporting Michael and his product roadmap on launching these different titles. So Music Mogul is now live, and I know that the team is working on a Spin Tycoon as well. And then just kind of little quality of life updates. I think we finally launched a feature allowing people to reset their 2FA on Cloud Wallet. I said finally because I know this feature was like requested for 3 years, I think. So it's finally out there. Apologies for that being essentially a feature that was kind of at the end of at the back of the bus, but we needed to push through some more important projects that were important. And then finally, let's talk about V-Strike and viral markets. So I think on the viral market side, the team continues to do incremental updates to kind of improve the UX, UI, and then make sure that we stay on top of our feature parity with the ecosystem to make sure that marketplace is an alternative that people can use. On the V-Strike side, we are very, very close to launch. And the team responsible for the marketplace side of things, they're definitely in the final testing phase of that project, and adding support for other blockchains as well. So we want to make sure that this is a multi-chain marketplace, and I'm not going to be talking about which ones yet, but hopefully that's going to be a nice surprise. Um, Again, I think that the architecture and how the V-Strike is implemented at the end of the day is built on Wax blockchain to leverage its tooling and power. So that's going to benefit the transaction rate and also tokenomics, which is great. But we are also going to make sure that we reach out to other ecosystems and see if skin trading is something that can get people excited across the board. And I think I've run through my notes, Tommy.
Yes, it's really extensive. There's a lot going on just from the
Yes,
last
there
one.
is.
And let me thank you myself on behalf of the 2FA community, because that was something that I'm sure you're sick of hearing me ask about it. So I'm glad that we got that out for everybody.
Did I forget to talk about anything, Tommy, that you wanted to cover?
No, I think I've got a whole bunch of questions as we go on. And then throughout the space too, I'll bring up some folks to ask their own questions. I know we got a few people who have requested right now. The first question I have from the community though came from one that was just kind of dropped. It's going to lead into the tokenomics that I wanted to bring up first. Um,
Sure.
would you have any insight or comment on what kind of impact the ability to pay per transaction has had on the overall volume of transactions in general? And this was from let me see if I can find them from Madara Squared down below.
Oh, for sure. That's a great topic. So in last year when we started this process, we saw about 18 million transactions per day on chain, and with some spikes to maybe 20 million transactions per day. The moment we started tightening the belt and implementing these changes, we definitely saw a drop in transactions. So I think that there were, if I were to make a guess, there were a lot of botnets um, that were using very, very low margins to make money either on Farmers World, on Alien Worlds, or maybe some other projects as well, which became essentially not profitable anymore. So they dropped, and now I think we're doing about I think 2 million to maybe 3 million transactions per day. So we definitely saw a big drop. Having said that, what I saw is as the number of transactions has dropped, I saw an influx of about 80 million of wax being staked for resources. And people are starting to use power up, essentially offsetting inflation, which means that we have what I would compare it to is we see a low quality of transactions that were parasitic to the chain, essentially exploiting the chain and putting pressure on block producers and also on Cloud Wallet to essentially supplement these transactions. So those parasitic users and transactions have dropped off. Higher quality transactions that are more meaningful, that are not exploiting the chain, have persisted and remaining. So I would compare that to cleaning the house. So we've cleaned the house. I think that now it's not essentially profitable to bought the crap out of our ecosystem, and now the remaining transactions are with the meaningful activity that actually makes sense. Um, Speaking of all that, we will continue looking at tokenomics, looking at the numbers. I look at the uh, on daily basis. I'll look at the amount of new stakes coming in the last 24 hours, people unstaking. What are the ratios? I also look at the transactions. I look at the amount of wax staked for CPU and net. Um, and then also we look at the um, we also look at the power up. So all these different factors are gonna be assessed and looked at, and over the next year, really, we're gonna be tweaking our tokenomics to make sure that these tokenomics make sense, and that I ultimately want Wax blockchain to get to the point where the model is sustainable. It doesn't have to be supplemented through inflation, and it doesn't have to be supplemented by other means. So it is a very, very difficult task. I think that pretty much all, if not most of, if not all blockchains, when you look at their tokenomics and how, what is the business of a blockchain, they're essentially funding operations by some sort of form of inflation and selling tokens. We are definitely trying to solve that problem. for the future of this platform, and make sure that our inflation can go to zero, and the actual economic activity on the blockchain rewards the block producers and everyone in the ecosystem in a way, so it's actually positive towards the tokenomic model. I am also hoping that the launch of this L2 sidechain for the EVM ecosystem is gonna plug in very nicely into this model, because, like I said, the operating token that is going to be used for gas fees is going to be Ethereum, which is very, very easy to get. And then whatever is collected is going to be used to buy WaxP on Uniswap pool that we have, and then that WaxP is going to be bridged over to Wax and then injected into our tokenomics model to offset inflation and plug in into existing model that launched um, in January.
I hope that answered your question, Manara. Thanks, Lucas. Well, it covered a couple of things I was going to ask about too. All right.
I'm glad. I think
Yeah, right.
I'm kind of taking a mental stock of everything I wanted to talk about. I think I missed a conversation about RAM limitations and all that stuff.
Oh, that'll be next.
So okay, so you want me to talk about that, or do you have something else?
I have a couple of questions from the audience. Some folks raised their hand to come up, so I'm going to bring them up now.
Okay.
Hustle, go ahead and Hustle. You had a question. Put your hand back up, please, and I'll bring you up. The first one's going to be from Brian. Let me bring him up real quick. Let me invite Hustle back up too, and then we'll go ahead. So Brian, you have the floor. What's the question? What's your question for today, sir?
What's up, guys? Tommy, Lucas, what up? So yeah, I got two, I don't know, I guess maybe two questions. Maybe one's a question, other one's just a statement kind of to what Lucas was talking about earlier. My one would be the most recent the RNG issues that we've been heavily having recently. So like I don't know, maybe I'm the only one that's kind of tapped into this, but I know that there's been some heavy issues. I've seen something today talking about the ORNG .wax. Like, yeah, I guess that's having some issues with like, yeah. So I don't know if that's something that can get touched on.
Yeah, I can talk about that. So there have been some downtime over over the last week for sure. So first of all, massive apologies for that. We're trying to do best we can to make sure that the service stays up. Rest assured that the team is on it. We have done several releases in the last 72 hours to improve things. Bottom line is that there are some actors in our ecosystem that started exploiting RNG ecosystem to get free resources. So the way the current system is designed is that when it's actually generating a random number and then sending it back to the smart contract, to the system that requested it, it also grants certain amount of resources for CPU and net. And people figured out how to abuse that. So there are going to be some changes to the system. So we're going to be essentially introducing you'll have to, in order to register, in order to use an RNG system, a random number generator system on Wax, starting from April 1st, you will have to register a payer account. So let's say if I'm a game, I'm utilizing RNG for probably fair random number, then I will have to register my account and provide enough Wax resources so that RNG can actually do its work. And we will also include a whitelist of projects that are actively working with us, are doxed, and they essentially utilize. We know that they utilize that system heavily, and they're not malicious. So we will have an ability to whitelist these projects so they continue operating without any disruptions. So, I know it was a long-winded answer. TLDR is that, we're looking into it, we are fixing it, and the whole system is being realigned so that number one can continue working as designed, and number two cannot be abused anymore. Did I answer
Much,
your question, Brian?
yeah, no, much love, man. I appreciate it. I'm sure everyone was as kind of freaked out as I was about it. And then I guess, yeah, that kind of doubles into my second question, digging back at, I guess, you were saying more currently, I guess the most transactions that we've been able to kind of see is, somewhere in the was it 2 millions or
Yep.
so now do we feel like, let's say in the last 2 to 3 years, that Wax has slowly almost seen more trouble with transactions occurring consistently with any issues as opposed to maybe what it was 2, 3 years ago? Or is that just maybe something that I'm seeing from a creator standpoint?
Well, I think that so my take on this is as follows. The fact that introducing or reducing and primarily there's parameter on chain called target block CPU percent, which essentially it's a parameter of a percentage of a resource per block, and there's the same one for net actually, that allows almost free transactions to happen on chain before any sort of you know um, CPU multiplier for cost kick in, right? And our setting for a very very long time was very very generous, and that setting used to be 25%, which essentially meant that up to 25% of any sort of transactions per block were essentially free before you started to get into that you know higher resource utilization. And I think that the reality was that essentially got abused, um, and the result of that was that there was a massive strain on the block producers and API providers to essentially supplement projects that um, I'm not saying everybody, but I think that there were just a lot of operations on chain that were botting or focused primarily on botting to extract as much value as of our ecosystem without really providing anything back into it. So when we started adjusting this target block CPU percent from 25 all the way to 10%, which the last change was made actually yesterday. So we're gonna stay at 10% now, just so we have a comparison. EOS, for example, they don't have that tier at all, right? So we stay at 10%. EOS is about 0.1%. So they essentially they don't have that free tier at all. Um, but we as part of the discussions, how we can change our tokenomics, we definitely wanted to keep the staking model, because if you don't have that parameter set higher, then staking for resources doesn't really work anymore. It is very very expensive, and then you would have to shift almost 100% of the model into power up and paper transaction. But we wanted to make sure that that is still available, especially I think as we're working through this. My goal and our team's goal is to make sure that the resource staking can be used by large projects, like large DApp operators who want to supplement their users, and then over time hopefully the regular user especially users coming from EVM ecosystems where they're used to paying gas fees. They can just use a paper transaction, and everyone is happy, right? But the funny thing is that we do see a drop in transactions. um, Having said that, I see, like I said, um, massive amount of wax staked for resources. We're offsetting inflation. So I see it as malicious traffic that was putting a lot of strain on our BPs, and the ecosystem got um, um, essentially removed. Meaningful traffic is still here. The fact that we were processing up to 30 million transactions during a bull run, last bull run, we definitely can handle the load. Now it's just a matter of building more meaningful applications and expanding the business, so that these transactions are actually the ones that matter. Hopefully that answers your question.
And Brian, I think you got a follow up, and then I gotta ask about RAM.
Yeah, no, you're good, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and step down. Yeah, no, I was just, like I said, with the the facing of always, like it's kind of nice to tell people that we can process between two whatever transactions and 8 million, but I
Yep.
think
Yep.
on a deeper technical level that there's obviously some issues that we still face, and growth and evolution that still gets to occur, which is good, but
Yep.
I think that we always want to keep in mind that growth and evolution should always be consistent, because
Right.
if we help people outside of this ecosystem to think that we don't have issues like that, then
Yeah.
yeah, it kind of steers them away as well. But no, man, I
Yeah.
appreciate definitely head on answer, and
Well, let me just add to that, because I think it's very important to highlight, and this is something that I have been struggling a lot myself. My primary background before I started working with Wax Team back in February 2018 was from Web 2 space, right? So I had very little Web3 experience at that time.
worked with Mazda, correct?
Um, I used to work. I mean, I was a CTO at Grinder before, so I took that dating app from the small app that it was to actually a massive success. And before that, I worked in automotive industry also. So I was at Mazda and Toyota, and I also worked at the Beachbody before. And before that, I've done a lot of consulting in the online marketplace space as well. So I've kind of worked at various different verticals, but my focus has always been on, like, building scalable systems, right? So for example, when I was hired by Grinder to lead their engineering team, they had massive problems scaling the app, and they were essentially, they had users. They're expanding. By the time we're done, they had users 154 countries in the world, and we were processing close to 150 200,000 requests per second on the platform. So, like, dealing with that sort of traffic is very difficult. But the reason why I'm mentioning that is typically when you talk to VCs that value the company, they look at various different metrics. One of the metrics that's important is daily active users, monthly active users, a number of transactions that can process, and that kind of contributes into the valuation. um, One thing that I've learned in Web3 space is that the number of transactions and daily active users doesn't really mean anything when it comes to your market cap. So I think I myself was puzzled when I looked at Wax, for example, and there was a place and time where when we were processing, almost 2.5 times the number of all the transactions of all the blockchains combined, right? And we had 800,000 daily active wallets, which was also the number of 1x, two times all the other platforms combined. Yet that did not translate at all into the market cap of Wax. So then and that was kind of a trigger for me also to take a second look at our tokenomics, because what I realized that especially in the Web3 space, free is not valued. And because something that is free is not valued, we changed our tokenomics. Because I believe now that providing free bandwidth, providing free resources doesn't really translate into more adoption or increase in market cap for the Wax blockchain. So that is why we pivoted when it comes to the tokenomics, and now I'm not afraid of essentially um, playing around with our tokenomics and making things a little bit more expensive, so that the meaningful projects can actually thrive, and abusers they go away, and hopefully that is going to translate into a better adoption and valuation of Wax in the next bull run.
Good shit, Lucas. These are kind of talks we need to be having, man. Bravo. Much love. I love y'all. I'm gonna step down. I don't want to take any more time, but yeah, no, these are good talks, bro.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, Brian. All right, Lucas, I wanted to ask about the RAM, right? So on our roadmap, we had like the RAM improvements, right? It was like proof of concept we were going to be putting out. So can you give a little bit of information about like how can the RAM improvements contribute to the overall scalability of Wax, and what are some expected outcomes for developers and users once the removal of the RAM resource constraints is launched?
Yeah. Okay, cool. That's a great topic. And I want to also tie it to our one of the items on that we have on the roadmap, which deals with side chains. Um, so with the launch of IBC last year, and now we've spent significant amount of time improving the I guess operations and automation of running Wax blockchain. We are now getting into a point where we also want to add support for being able to have like a central registry, on-chain registry of chains, side chains, and then have those side chains supported by Cloud Wallet and other tools in our ecosystem, so that you can have mini Wax blockchains running in parallel, allowing projects to scale on their own, right? So the typical life cycle that I can think about for a project would be, you start building on Wax, you get, you typically you start on the mainnet, you use the testnet, and there are tools out there. You've got free APIs available. You're not going to be rate limited up to a certain point. Cloud Wallet also provides resources to your users up to a certain point. So, up to a certain point, your operations are subsidized, and everything should be great from a perspective of early development adoption. And then you move to a next stage where now let's say you're getting some traction, you get some meaningful daily active wallets, there's more transactions. So now you move to that area where maybe as a project you need to start running your own API nodes. Maybe you need to talk to BPs and other solutions providers so they run them for you for a fee. Maybe you need to now start staking resources for your users, which Cloud Wallet provides that functionality. So if you're a project, you can essentially create your own pool of resources, and then your users get subsidized on top of transactions get subsidized on top of whatever Cloud Wallet Boost provides. And then you continue to grow, and at some point you're gonna hit the um, let's say you're very successful, and now your traffic is, let's say 20-30% of the bandwidth of the mainnet. So probably that's the time where that next phase comes, where we need to start having conversations about, okay, you're big enough to essentially run your own sidechain, which means that we can start working with dApps to launch their own mini wax blockchains that has its own governance with BPs and that project, but has full support and connectivity to the mainnet, which means now you're doing parallel processing, you're offloading the mainnet while still maintaining the benefits of being this ecosystem. So that's why we're working on side chains, so that we can have that capability, and that allows you to kind of shard resources across multiple blockchain ecosystems. Um, so that is a long-winded um, lead up to RAM discussion. So if you look at Wax blockchain RAM model, which is essentially um, part of the Antelope ecosystem as a whole, there is a flaw in the way Antelope chains treat memory, um, and essentially the whole blockchain state has to be pinned into the memory in order for the nodes, the block producers, and the um, API nodes to actually work. And as you guys know, because Wax blockchain had and still has a lot of activity, the footprint of our blockchain is large. So with all the smart contracts deployed, and I believe smart contracts account for about 70% of the RAM consumption, and the rest is really um, accounts being created. So so the RAM improvement project is going to address specifically the account creation and what is the footprint of one account on Wax blockchain, so that number one, we can support scaling to, let's say, 100 million, 250 million accounts in the next bull run cycle, with the goal for that to be maybe even more, like half a billion accounts on chain, right? So I know that that's a pipe dream right now, but that's kind of my thinking. Like I wanna be audacious in our goals, and in order to do that, and by the way, we are also looking at that because I want to remove the paywall that right now we have on Cloud Wallet, so that the account creation can be free or subsidized by Cloud Wallet, so that it's easy to bring in more users. So that's the goal. So the team is actually working with Antelope Coalition and ENF also, because we want to make sure that these changes are added to the Antelope core, so everyone benefits. But we're looking essentially at redesigning the Wax blockchain account structure, so that there's this concept of account light, right? So when you create an account today, there's just a lot of functionality attached to the account that deals with permissioning schemes and that hierarchy that is supported in terms of like the different keys and permissions. And then there's also a lot of functionality that deals with smart contracts. the reality is that 99% of people that need an account, they just need an account because they need a space that holds their stuff, right? I need an account that is able to has that I can hold fungible tokens or non-fungible tokens, and I want to make sure that that account is secure and is able to interact with smart contracts, games, and marketplaces and other applications. Which means that a lot of the advanced concepts, advanced stuff that takes up space for the accounts can be stripped away. So that's what we're doing right now. We are introducing this account light concept, so that when you create an account on Wax, you kind of get that initial that you get the account that has that basic functionality with a minimum RAM footprint. And then, if you want to create, if you're, let's say, a smart contract developer, or you want some to do something very advanced, then you can go back and create an account that is that standard account that we have today. And hopefully, through that process, we can reduce the account footprint by at least half to maybe 75%, which means that then we would be able to open the ecosystem up again, remove the paywall, and then allow account creation to go on for free without putting too much strain on our block producers and node operators.
Yeah, I think
Hopefully that answered the question.
yeah, it definitely did. And I think like for me personally, like, and for when talking to new people about Wax, I think removing the paywall is such a big help to getting people excited, getting people started. So
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to
I
it.
definitely want to do it before the next bull run is fully in its swing. I mean, arguably we're already in one. Um, but this is not something that we're talking about a year from now. I really want to make sure that that happens in Q2.
Awesome. I'm excited for what's coming next. Now I've got a couple questions left, one about bridges and one about the wallet. And so I don't want to go too far over time. So let me throw those to you, and then we will skedaddle out of here, Lucas. So first about bridges, I wanted to ask kind of like what's the next thing as far as building bridges to blockchains? What kind of research does your team go through before embarking on something like that? And is there a real big difference when you're looking at bridging NFTs versus fungible tokens?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, um, I talked last year about creating this ecosystem of network of networks, interconnectivity, and making sure that we have that tool in our bag, so that projects that want to leverage the power of Vox blockchain but still want to have access to liquidity in other ecosystems can do that, right? So that's why we've built the bridges, and we're gonna continue to add strategically to that ecosystem. I mentioned that we want to definitely add Solana. Whether we're going to be adding other ecosystems beyond, I think right now we have Polygon, ZK rollup for Polygon. So there's two chains there. There's Binance Smart Chain, and then support for Ethereum, right? So those are the ones that's supported by our bridge. Today, Solana is going to be added next. So when we were deciding which blockchains to add, we looked at various different metrics, and also some intangible metrics of engaging with some of those communities, and also talking to our own community about what projects thought they needed in order to grow, and I think that it's great that we build that tooling, because now that tooling is going to be heavily leveraged as building blocks for sidechains, because sidechains will require bridging, especially the L2 EVM that we're going to be launching. So the bridging that we have in place, both for tokens, fungible tokens and non-fungible tokens to Ethereum, is going to be a big building block to support that sidechain for Wax. So this is something that we don't have to build from scratch anymore. So as building blocks, all these things are great. Having said that, I have not really seen the growth of projects on Wax or projects coming from other ecosystems onto Wax, because we have this bridge ecosystem, which is disappointing. But that's the reality of development, right? You do the best research you can, and then unfortunately, once you build it, the reality is that sometimes it's used and sometimes it's not. We will continue working with our ecosystem, and working with projects to kind of identify what can we be doing better in terms of bridging and other tools for that matter, to make sure that they can expand and benefit their projects. But as far as you know, if I were to use a metric of like growth of the ecosystem and adoption of the bridge, I mean, it's a failure, because I only see maybe 15, 20 projects they're actually using. They've used it maybe once or twice. They try to set up their collections and bridge their collections. But I think that once you leave Wax and you experience the gas fees in other ecosystems, you realize that Wax as a platform is very, very good, because you don't have to spend that much money to do basic transactions. The moment you leave our ecosystem, it's a different story. And I think therefore the bridges have not really had the adoption that I was hoping for. But that's okay. We'll continue lean into that tool and expand it. Like I said, it's going to be a core component, allowing us to introduce this EVM L2, and then also implement this sidechain concept that I've talked about. And then finally, we did add support for collections originating on EVM um, um, chains to be bridged onto Wax. So the initial version last year allow you to bridge collections that originated on Wax to other chains, and now you can actually do it in the reverse. So if you have a collection that originated on, let's say, Ethereum, you can actually take that ERC 721 and then bridge it back onto Wax.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for the insight there.
Sure.
We've only got a few minutes left, so I'm just going to ask for just a real quick. Would you be able to share with us how is the development for the Cloud Wallet mobile app going, and can we expect to get Apple and Android at the same time, or is one coming first?
Yeah, so the team is working on mobile. The wallet apps are largely done. What we're working on right now is a very critical concept that I always don't want to launch products that don't actually have significant quality of life benefit to the ecosystem. So what I want to make sure is that we launch the mobile cloud wallet with a ability for existing dApps to essentially allow signing on mobile, signing of transactions. So let's say you have a desktop application that is using Wax.js or maybe WharfKit to integrate with Cloud Wallet, but it's a that's a desktop application, runs in the browser on a desktop. What we're working on right now is an ability for a user to essentially say, you know what, I want to start signing transactions on my mobile device. I don't want to see these pop-ups anymore. I don't want to see these transaction signing windows within the user experience on my desktop. I want them to be all routed to my mobile device, right? So that's use case number one. Use case number two is also leverage the same ecosystem so that the new Unity SDK leverages that, so that, you know, if I'm a Unity SDK developer and I have some sort of a application or a game, regardless whether it's running, let's say on a desktop, or whether it's a mobile, or if it's a console, then I can actually route signing to my mobile device, as opposed to having these pop up within my user experience on the game, right? So the team is now largely done with the mobile development of the actual wallet app itself. Um, what is being worked on right now is all the plumbing and connectivity and syncing that allows you to say, hey, as a user, I want to connect my mobile app, mobile cloud wallet to this app, and I want to configure it so that going forward, all my signing happens on my mobile device and not on a desktop. So and that also includes Unity SDK. So that's what's being done. It's a little bit more complicated than I just described, but the team is on top of it, and hopefully we'll get it out. If not in March, then definitely in Q2.
Awesome. I'm excited for that. And I really like the idea of being able to sign on your phone without having to click something that's a pop-up. And I would imagine that could be added to other things as well than just like a game on a web, or like a console or
Yeah,
something.
for sure. So one of the goals that the team has taken upon themselves is that we want to make sure that we release a version of Wax.js library, and then also work with GrayMass to make sure that WorfKit supports that as well. But we want to make sure that a DApp can simply upgrade their Wax.js library, existing one, and nothing really changes for them, except for the fact that the user now can select of like, oh, if you install a mobile cloud wallet, then you can link that to the game or DApp that you're using, and then going forward, all the signing happens on your mobile. Additionally, we want to make sure that there is an SDK that allows mobile developers, when I'm building a mobile app that's native, that our cloud wallet also can sign transactions on that mobile device. So that's kind of the natural progression to what we're doing. But again, I want to focus on user experience and remove that Web3 friction that is definitely there.
Thank you. All right, everybody, that we're coming up. We're just a minute past time, and I don't want to tread too much on the next space that's going to be going. So let me go ahead and wrap it up today. Lucas, thank you so much for spending your time today to chat with everybody. Thanks for the update on the Wax and sharing what we can look forward to in the next month. Do you have any parting words or a final message you'd like to share with all of our listeners today?
Yeah, I mean, listen, guys, I'm super excited about what's happening in the crypto markets in general. I think that we have pushed through the majority of the bear market. So I know that a lot of people who were riding high with the last bull run were really not. That was their first bull run, and everyone thought that crypto can only go up. But let's remember, this is all cyclical. We as a team have made some tough but very strategic decisions early on when the bear market started. And that allowed us to continue to build, continue to support this community, continue to survive. And now, as we're looking into the next cycle, things are really looking up. There's a lot of things that we're working on that I hope will benefit all the projects, will benefit and promote wax adoption. And we can only look up from this point. Next 18 months are going to be very exciting.
Absolutely. I'm excited too to see how it all is going to play out. Lucas, thank you again for everything. It's really been a pleasure today.
Take care.
Okay, Wax fam, I'm going to hit you with just a few upcoming dates to watch out for, and then we will be off to the NFtopia space. So, like I said, immediately after this space, go ahead and tune into the Wax Wednesday community space held by the NFtopia team right here on X. This Friday, March 8th, the Brawl for All auto battle mode is being unveiled. Please join us in the Toronto Studios Discord to keep up to date on all of the developments and to see the list of battlers. I'll have a little hiatus this month. Our next time that we'll all meet will be Wednesday, March 27th, and we'll be hosting the Women of Wax for our Wax Wednesday space. Tune in, hear from Waffles Kitty, Christaya, and Elsie2, and we're going to talk about and celebrate the women who are on the Wax blockchain. All right, that's our show for this week. Spring's here. Go out and touch some grass, plant some peppers, whatever you want to do. Take care of each other, and I'll see you next time. Happy Wax Wednesday, everybody.